What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Driving Left Field podcast. My name is Jack. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at LV I'm here with James. You can find him on Twitter, James Valentinas. Today's podcast, we're going to be doing our top 10 center fielder list that we have. This is between James, Ryan, and I. Ryan can't be with us today, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask.
Fortunately.
Fortunately. So, yeah, we're going to get into it here. As per usual, we have got our cumulative list, and then I will also go through, what I had as well. I think it's kind of a good comparison. All right. Starting at number 10, we have Harrison Bader of the New York Yankees. Bader joined the Yankees last season, mid-season over the trade deadline for Jordan Montgomery. He was hurt, and then he didn't play so well in the regular season, and then he was really, really good in the postseason. He was incredible. He carried the Yankees offense, pretty much the only offense the Yankees had in the postseason. So Bader comes in at number 10. I personally had him at number 8. A little higher than a couple guys. I think his defense combined with his offense, and base running in general gives him a very high floor. I'm not really sure where his ceiling's at because I'm not really sure it can be anything more than a 105, 110 WRC plus bat. Even then, that's potentially a 4 or 5 win player, which is still really, really good value. But if it's higher than that, obviously the sky's the limit for him. Obviously, the big caveat with Bader is his injury history. He doesn't play many games. He's already down today. He's an oblique strain. Shouldn't be too serious, but if it is, and that's a problem, obviously. Really, it's just health that keeps Bader low on this list, I assume. James, what do you think about Bader for
Yeah, I
next
like
season?
Bader a lot. He's the defense and the glove and the speed, right? The bat is questionable. It's like up and down, right? You never know really what to expect. It's 114 in 2020, 110 in 2021, 86 last year, and that was including 47 after getting to New York. Again, that's only tiny sample size
Yeah.
because he got hurt. And then again, he had an amazing postseason last year where he slugged 833. So um, I think with Bader, you kind of know you're getting, no matter what happens, how many games he plays, you're getting a good glove, elite speed. And then if you can get anything with the bat, I think that's a plus, right? If you get anything above 100, then you're looking at a guy who can have a 3-4 win season pretty quietly. I think he's just a valuable guy to have on your roster.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move to number 9 here. We have Cedric Mullins of the Baltimore Orioles. Now, I didn't have Mullins on my list personally. I think he's a slightly worse version of Harrison Bader. He's going to be around maybe a little above average hitter. Like, he's a fine hitter. He was really, really good in 2021. Obviously, took a step back in 2022. I think we're going to see something closer to 2022 as far as like what kind of player he is going forward. I would bet definitely closer there. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's going to steal you bases. He's a good hitter. He's okay. He's pretty good defensively. I had Mullins at 11, I believe. Again, he's a really good player. I just think center field's a good position, and I have a couple guys ahead of him. I had Riley Green personally ahead of him at number 10. I think he's a good player. I think his ceiling is kind of low though. James, what do you think about Mullins?
I think I disagree with the ceiling being low, just given that we've seen a 6 win season out of him. We know that's a possibility, right? We know that has happened. It can't happen again. He's only 28. So it's not like it's way in the past, right? I would think last year is a pretty good baseline for Mullins, but even then, like you said, it was a step back, but he still had a 3.4 WAR, 106 WRC plus. I don't love the bat with Mullins. I question whether he's actually a league average, an above league average hitter. But even then, again, like Bader, good defense, good speed. So he'll back his way into another 3 win season as long as he stays healthy, and he has the last 2 years. He's played 156 and 159 games.
All right. Number 8, we have Jazz Chisholm Jr. of the Miami Marlins. I had Chisholm at number 9 for reference. I think he's a good player. Again, here's a guy, I had him a lot higher on my second base list, I believe, relatively speaking, like the grand scheme of kind of player. I have him in the top 100. I think a lot of people say, like, oh, he's a platoon bat, blah, blah, blah. I think he's a really good hitter. I think realistically, he's going to hit the right side, obviously, a lot better. But he's not that bad. He's not going to be that. I don't think he'll be that bad against lefties, at least as bad as he was in 2022. Pretty small sample size, obviously. The big thing with Chisholm here, obviously, is moving to center field, new position. We've never seen him play any professional center field. So I think it'll be interesting for sure to see how he looks out there. I can't really assume he's going to be anything more than average, if not below average, at the position, which is the thing. So look, good player. not really much else to say there. Obviously, the big thing, the defense is going to run the bases pretty well. Marlins are fielding a team of 5 second basemen, which I find pretty funny. James, what do you think about Chisholm Jr. in 2023? And do you think his defense will be bad or good, or do you not know? Because frankly, we have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like he could be an elite center fielder, he could be a horrible center fielder, and I'd have no idea either way. You'd assume he'll be at least somewhat decent. He's got good speed. I'm sure the range will be fine. I question his jump, right? Like, is he going to be able to get to the ball quickly? Just given that he's no outfield experience. I don't think ever in his career. Maybe at least at like the professional level, right? Not in the minors and not in the majors. But again, he's young. He hits really well. I think the platoon bat thing it's pretty off. Is a pretty horrible take. Like, yes, he was really bad against lefties last year, but he wasn't that bad the last 2 years before that. Even when he wasn't a good hitter, when he came up in 2020 with that 54 WRC plus or whatever. Yeah, he strikes out a ton, doesn't walk much, but when he puts the bat on the ball, he hits it hard. He had a 140 WRC plus last year. He's projected just 117 by Steamer. I think that's really low. He missed a lot of games last year with injury, right? He only played 60 games, but I think, if he stays healthy and if he can, and if his defense is at least, playable in center field, then he'll be fine.
I agree. All right, number 7, we have Ryan Reynolds of the Pittsburgh Pirates. For reference, I had Reynolds at number 5. I had him at 5. Yeah, I feel like this is a little low.
6. You have him at 6.
I had him at 6. Did I have him at 6? Are you sure?
Yes.
I had him at 6. I'm an idiot. Sorry, guys. Reynolds at number 7 here. Good player. I had him at 6 again, just a spot ahead. He's gonna hit well. His defense is all over the place. Like I don't really know. It's tough because Reynolds I find to be personally a little overrated. Which is hard to be in Pittsburgh and be overrated. But I think people maybe in like trades and whatnot and mock trades kind of overrate him. He's a really, really good player, right? Don't get me wrong. His defense in center field's been a little wonky. It's been bad last year, good the year before. Offense, he had a down year, and then he had in 2020, and he's been really good the last couple of years. He's been a little hurt also, but I think he's a good player. Like you probably get around 125, 130 WRC plus out of him. But again, it's a defense that you don't really know about. So if he's playing that elite defense, he probably a little higher. If he's not like he did last year, then probably around here is a good spot for Reynolds. James, what do you have to say about Reynolds for 2023?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Reynolds, I agree with you to an extent that he's getting a little bit overrated, right? You look at some of those trade proposals, those mock trades, and they kind of overvalue him. You see him going for like multiple top 10 prospects in his system. I don't know if at this point, as a guy, I think he hits free agency in 2026. So yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of value there with the he's under contract for a while, right? Your team control. He had a 141 WRC plus 6.1 win season in 2021, took a step back last year. It's tough to he plays for the Pirates. So I think to an extent he might get a little overrated just because he's so much better than anyone else on that team.
But Ke'Bryan Hayes and Oneil Cruz, please.
Well, okay, but Ke'Bryan Hayes and Oneil Cruz have not had we're more looking at them for their potential rather than what they are right now. Whereas we look at Reynolds for what he is right now. And what he is right now is a 3-4, maybe 4.5, 5-win baseball player next year. And I really hope he gets traded for his sake because the Pirates aren't going anywhere. And I think he could contribute to a much better team.
All right, coming in at number 6 here, we have Luis Robert of the Chicago White Sox. Luis Robert Jr. now. Again, this is a guy I personally had him at 7. I'm spot below Reynolds. In hindsight, say what you want about that. It was rough for him last year. Really, really, really good in 2021, but obviously small sample size. White Sox were a mess last year, but his talent's through the roof. You're going to get with him. He runs the bases extraordinarily well. He plays elite defense. The bat, the potential with the bat is really unmatched. I think really this is a guy, one of those guys he could be a top 10 player. I would not be surprised if he breaks out in that way just because of how good he is. Again, the play discipline is not really there. It's got to be better. The strikeout rate's pretty high. I mean, obviously strikeouts and out, but ultimately that kind of leads to more chases and whatnot. So I think if he's going to take the jump, he's got to make better contact. He's going to make more contact. He's going to walk more. Again, though, the ceiling is through the roof. The sky's the limit for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a league average hitter, but a 3-WAR player. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he was an 8-WAR player like that. Like those outcomes, the range of outcomes for Robert are all over the place. James, what do you have to say about Robert for 2023? And do you think the bat will return to that 2021 form?
I mean, I feel like Robert's career to this point has been pretty disappointing. If you just look at the sheer value, maybe he's underperformed a little bit and has some expected numbers that are a little better, but 111 WRC plus last year, 98 games. He's never played a full season. He's never even played 100 games. Again, it's only 3 years, so who really knows? I would expect somewhere in between the 2021 and 2022 versions of Robert. Like 2022 last year, just a 111 WRC plus and negative defense in center field, which is kind of shocking from a guy who you would expect, just given the tools and he graded out as a 70 grade defender when he came into the league a few years ago, and then negative defensive value as a center fielder is very disappointing. But I think that the ceiling is still there, obviously, right? Like there's nothing stopping him from having a 7 or 8 win season and being an MVP candidate. But until we see that, I think right around this 5 to 7 range is a pretty good spot for him on this list, especially given how much talent is at this position.
Yeah. All right. Coming here at number 5, we have Michael Harris, the second of the Atlanta Braves. I had Harris the second at number 5. He's a great player. He's a guy that, frankly, this feels a little low, even though it's where I had him, and it's not low because the guy's ahead of him, but he's a really, really talented player. Again, he hits the ball really well. He doesn't walk at all. He does not like to walk, but that's kind of okay. His contact rates are really good. His in-zone contact, rate is really good. His exit velocities are really good. He plays elite defense out there. He's gonna run the bases really well. Again, 5-tool-ish player. Like, when you think of, I personally don't think the term 5-tool too much, but if you think of a 5-tool player, he's probably one of those guys that is up there. He's just fantastic. Braves, obviously, they locked him up as well. It's just like, I don't really know what else to say to him. He's just such a good player. It's like, and again, the one thing you're scared about is that regression. But he was a top prospect. I believe in the pedigree. I believe in, his ability to make contact and hit the ball really hard and play really good defense. So I believe in Harris personally. I understand that there are some doubters just because of his walk rates and play discipline. He comes in at number 5. James, what do you think about Harris for 2023?
I mean, I think with a guy like this, he was on pace for what? Okay, that is not good math there. He was on pace for a 6-4 season last year. He played the full season, only 114 games, came up a little late, and then missed a little bit with injury. I think you look at Harris, and it's hard not to think, he might regress a little bit, right? 136 ORC plus seems a little high for a guy like him, even with the pedigree you said as a top prospect. I don't expect too much, right? As far as the regression goes, I think another 4 or 5 win season is pretty much what I would expect from him. Steamer has him at 116 WRC plus 3.9 WAR. I think it's a little low, but then again, I understand why he never walks. He had a 4.8% walk rate last year. But then in the minors, he had 8.7%, 8.3%, 9.7%. Like you've seen a guy who's walked before, right? Maybe just a adjustment to major league pitching. Maybe it's something the Braves, want him to swing more. His strikeout rate was also up, and so was his ISO. His isolated power was the highest of his professional career last year. The BABIP is high, but I would expect that to stay that way. He's got incredible speed. I don't think there's anything really to look at with Harris, and he's as close to, and I hate using this, I think you said this a minute ago, but he's a 5-tool player.
Yeah, I hate the term, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely don't. I think it's overused, but I think this is one of the scenarios where you can use it and be right.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to number 4 here. We have Byron Buxton, the Minnesota Twins. I personally have Buxton at 3. I think this is also a little low, but again, the injuries, this guy could be, frankly, the best player in baseball if he played all 162. Let's just be real. Or maybe the second best because, nobody's better than Ohtani, but this guy is incredible. He runs the bases extraordinarily well. He plays lead defense. The bat is one of the best in baseball when he's playing. But when he doesn't play, it's just so hard with him, because he's just so unbelievably injury prone. He's such a good player, but, I think people throw around the term injury prone kind of a little bit too much because it's a physical, it's a sport. You're going to get hurt playing it. This guy is incredibly injury prone. Let's be real here. But he's so incredibly talented. He's one of the fastest people in baseball, one of the best hitters in baseball when he's playing. I don't care about the walks because we've seen he could do it without the walks necessarily. He's one of the best, if not the best, defensive player in baseball in terms of value. Like it's just so hard with this guy because you want to put him really high, you want to put him maybe even higher than this, but I had him at 3, 4. Like I get it, you know what I'm saying? Especially the guys ahead of him, like I totally get it. Just because he can't be healthy. Like if he was healthy, like I said, he'd be incredible. If he's really like he'll win MVP if he's healthy. I fully believe that. So Buxton comes in number 4, and it sucks again. It really does suck. But James, what do you think of Buxton's outlook for 2023? Maybe can he stay healthy this year?
I think if Buxton stays healthy, he could have a 10-win season. I wouldn't be surprised. Like
Yeah.
he's so good that if we were just ranking true talent, I'd struggle between him and Mike Trout, to be honest, for this number 1 spot. But as it stands, I have him at number 4. We have him as number 4 as a group. I think Ryan had him at 5. You had him at 3. So it averages out number 4, right? I think last year he played 92 games, which was a step up from the year before. He's never played 100 games in the last 5 years. And I think we saw a big breakout, right, in 2021. And then he kind of followed it up. If you combine the 2 seasons, he had an 8.1 win season, right? One season, 153 games, 150 WRC plus, 8.7 BSR, 12.4 defensive value, and 8.1 WAR. That is an elite MVP season. The only problem is that he did it over 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
So obviously with Buxton, we know that the talent is there. We know that he can be one of the best players in the league. He's very capable of it. I just question, again, his health. And I think I overuse the injury prone thing. I throw it around all the time. But
Yeah, you do.
Buxton, you can't really argue with. He's
I agree.
like he has a serious injury problem. And it's weird because it's not always the same injuries. He had a back problem. He has knee problems right now.
Yeah, finger thing last year, sliding into second base. Like it's just so unfortunate.
Yeah, some of them are unfortunate, and then some of them, it's not like a lingering injury
No,
whereas like a lot of guys do. It's just all over the place. He just keeps getting hurt. I don't know what it is. It really makes no sense to me.
You got to feel for
But
them. He's so incredibly athletic too. Like he's so fast, he's strong. Like it's just so unfortunate.
yes, I mean, like we're looking at a guy here who again, combine those 2 seasons, and he's hit 47 homers and 111 RBIs and a 8% walk rate with a 28% strikeout rate. Like over those 2 seasons, he might be the best hitter or one of the 5 best hitters in the league. And then you combine that with his glove, which is incredible, and his base running, which is among the best in the league. We're looking at a guy who's in 585 career games had 18 WAR. The only problem is that those 585 games, which is what, like 3 seasons worth of games, like 4 seasons worth of games, and he's done it in what, 8 years?
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, it's not what you want, but he's a great player. Rooting for him for sure. Comes in number 4. Number 3, we have Brandon Nimmo of the New York Mets. Recently signed that 8-year, $162 million extension. I thought personally that was a steal for the Mets. Nimmo's a really good player, guy that has been also labeled injury prone in the past, but he's played a couple full seasons. So again, his defense also was not very good before, and now it's really, really good. So again, Nimmo, a guy going to play really good center field defense, not as good as Buxton or Robert typically, but it's gonna be good. The bat is on par though. The bat is really good. He walks an incredible amount. Crazy good plate discipline. He runs to first base, if you know what I mean. And he runs the bases really well. Like he knows. He's a true red blooded guy that goes out there every day and performs. So Nimmo is a really fun player to watch, especially he's just a fun player to watch. I think again he's really talented. I had him at 4 only because I had Buxton ahead of him, but either way, I could totally understand it. Mets are very lucky to have him. He's a really good player. James, what do you have to say about Nimmo?
Yeah, I mean, I think the contract he signed this offseason is a little bit shaky, right? It's kind of a lot of money for a guy who just played his first.
I don't know. I disagree. I think it's a steal, but it's like 20
You
million.
think it's a steal? It's 20 million a year, but it's 8 years, and
but it's like I just think it's.
And last year was the first time he played a full season since 2018. So he has the same problem where he keeps getting hurt.
I guess again, he's just very talented. It's hard to like.
Yeah, I mean, super talented player. He walks so much. He had a 400 on base percentage 2 years in a row, and 3 out of the last 5 years. Last year he didn't, but still had a 134 WRC plus. He had a career high of, or not career high, he had a career second high of 16 homers last year. career high of 5.4 WAR. And then Steamer's really high on him with a 4.8 WAR. Like just projections in general kind of love Nimmo, and it really makes sense. He checks all the boxes for like what a projection system would like. He's not very volatile at the plate. He walks a lot, singles a lot, doubles a lot, homers, and never. So there's not a lot of things that are super, volatile. So I think when you look at Nimmo, you kind of know what to expect, right? You're gonna get an elite bat and an elite glove. Maybe not elite glove. You're gonna get an elite bat and a good glove, and that puts you at number 3 on ours and my center field list.
All right. Number 2, we have Julio Rodriguez. This is going to be the consensus 1 or 2, 1 and 2, I think, for everybody. Julio Rodriguez, rookie last season, he was incredible. Again, one of the reasons why, like, we got to start ranking rookies higher as a collective. It's like, these are guys that just like they can still play at the major league level. It's baseball ultimately.
Yes, you could make that argument with Rodriguez, but then you could turn around and make the same argument against it with like a guy like Wander Franco, who we ranked like number 4 at shortstop, and then he had
I think Torkelson would be a better example of that.
Yeah, Torkelson too. Because Torkelson was really, really bad last year.
Can I talk about J-Rod real quick, and then we can get to the next? All right. Yeah, J-Rod, 5-tool player. Like, these are all kind of 5-tool players. You hate to use the term, but again, it makes sense with these kind of guys. Runs the bases incredibly well. Going to play really, really good defense in center field. Going to play, have an elite bat. He's just one of the best players in baseball at this point. I have him number 12 personally. I think he'll only get better. He's a guy that, probably going to win multiple MVPs in his career. He's that kind of player. A generational talent, if you will, maybe. Again, kind of like a healthy Byron Buxton with better plate discipline. It's a little sad. Again, you wish Buxton's up there with can play, but Rodriguez, hopefully, he had a little bit of time in the injury list, I believe. I think it was from a hit by a pitch or something. So no big deal. Should be good to go for 2023. Should be like totally fine in terms of lingering issues in 2023. Really excited to watch him play in WBC as well as in season for the Mariners. James, what do you think about J-Rod for 2023?
Julio Rodriguez, I think I'm going to pick him to an AL MVP next year. Like, it's tough to pick against Ohtani just because exactly what you're going to get, right? Where he's going to be an elite pitcher and an elite hitter, and it's really tough to beat that. Like Judge had to put up a historic season, and even then, people questioned whether Ohtani should win the MVP. I think with Rodriguez, last year we saw in 132 games in his rookie season as a 21-year-old, we saw a 5.3 WAR. That's incredible. You don't see guys come up to the major leagues and just perform like that. And he got up to a slow start too, if I remember correctly. And then in the second half, he went ballistic, right?
Yeah.
I would expect another second half J-Rod season for the full year. I think the 138 WRC plus that he's projected by Steamer is low. I think. What'd you say?
I said, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think you go, 145, 150 once again, and we're looking at a guy who could put up a 7-win season next year, and I wouldn't be. I mean, it's almost becoming to the point where it's like I'm expecting him to have a 6-win season, which are really, lofty expectations for a 22-year-old, but I think he's more than warranted. More than deserve them.
Yeah. All right, coming in number 1, this is very obvious. The undisputed best center fielder in baseball has been forever. Michael Nelson Trout, Los Angeles Angels at Anaheim, captain of Team USA and WBC. Again, Mike Trout, whatever you want to call him, best player of our generation by far. Best hitter we've seen in quite a while. Defense doesn't really matter, but he's been fine out there last year. He wasn't very good a couple of years in a row.
I don't know about defense doesn't really matter.
Okay, but like as far as Trout is concerned, like he's number 1. The defense you can live.
Yeah, I wouldn't care if he had a bad defensive season.
Yeah, it does not matter. His offense is going to carry that. His base running is incredible as well. The defense again wasn't that good in 2021 and 2020, 2021. It was better last year. Didn't play much though. Again, the thing with Trout is the injuries. He's a back thing, which really sucks, but still can't really stop him from being number 1 at this point. He hit 40 home runs in 83 games last year. Like he's an incredible talent. Obviously, it's fun to watch. Don't take him for granted for sure. Especially him and Ohtani 1-2 in the lineup, whatever it is that they're running out. Just it sucks that the Angels suck. It's like they're so talented, but they just can't do anything at the moment. Hopefully, they're better this year. But yeah, again, Trout undisputed number 1, consensus number 1, my number 1. I had him at number 4 amongst all players, but again, MLB's talent pool is better than it ever has been at this point. Like, I mean, Trout again could be number two. I just think he's that good of a player. So, James, what do you think about Trout for 2023?
I guess my question would be how long it takes for somebody to displace him on this list, right?
Yeah.
We saw his own teammate displace him as number one in the entire league, right, with Ohtani, and I think that's kind of unquestionable, right? I think Trout is still number two, but I could see the argument, right, for a couple guys to be ahead of him. Soto is one, but I question his defense. And then Judge, like there's not really much, like Judge and Trout are very similar in that aspect where like they're both elite hitters with solid gloves, but I just trust Trout more given that he's had at least a 160 WRC plus in every single season since 2012. That's fucking ridiculous.
Sure.
And you look at Trout and like I still don't think if he stays healthy, another MVP is not even close out of the question. Another 9-win season's not out of the question. Another 10-win season's not out of the question. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's at 30 years old, and this is rare. You don't see this a lot in baseball. At 30 years old, he could retire tomorrow and he'd be a first ballot Hall of Fame. That doesn't happen, right? If he could stay healthy, he probably would have ended his career with 150, 160 wins. But, as it stands right now, we'll see how far I can go. And I think people have started to take him for granted a little bit, especially given that he hasn't played as much and all that. But you look at Trout and like this is the best player of our generation, and it's not close, but he's got a teammate coming for that title.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. If you like what you saw, give us a 5-star, whatever platform you're listening to. Subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. We're the Deep Drive, a Drive and Deep Left Field podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Deep Drive Pod if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Nerds. Follow James on Twitter at James Valentinas. It's been a Deep Drive in the Left Field by Castellanos, and we'll see you in episode number
86.
Thank you.